All right, another important skill is translating verbal expressions into algebraic expressions. So in the last video, we did the reverse of that. We took an algebraic expression, kind of like something that was written in math, and translated it into a complete sentence. Well, we're going to go from a complete sentence and write it in its equivalent form in math. It's math language, so to speak. So some key concepts, some key words and what they mean. So if you have the words more than, some, plus, increased by, or added to, those are verbal phrases that indicate you're going to be doing addition. If you have less than, subtracted from, difference, decreased by, or minus, those indicate subtraction. Now, these aren't all the words that indicate addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division, but they're some of the more common ones, okay? And if you're not sure, look at the whole context of the sentence, and sometimes that helps in determining what the words mean. So product of, multiplied by, times, or of mean to multiply. Quotient of or divided by indicates division. So write an algebraic expression for each verbal expression. A number t more than 6. Well, the words more than suggest addition, so this would be 6 plus t or t plus 6. Now I want to say something about this. I like to say that t plus 6 and 6 plus t basically mean the same thing, because when you add two numbers, it doesn't matter which order you add them, because, for example, 5 plus 3 equals 8, and 3 plus 5 equals 8. Okay, it doesn't matter. You have to be careful with addition or subtraction. If this was subtraction, 5 minus 3 equals 2, but 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Okay, so with addition, it doesn't matter there. All right, how about this one? 10 less than the product of 7 and f. Now this one, less than, indicates subtraction. Okay? And product suggests multiplication. It's 10 less than the product of 7 and f. This is the most common wrong answer I'll see. And the reason is because that is saying 10 minus 7 times f. Well, that's not what this says. This says 10 less than the product of 7 and f. So what that actually means is that you're taking 10 away from the product of 7 and f. So this is actually what it looks like, 7f minus 10. And from what I said before, in subtraction, if you reverse the order, it actually takes the opposite of the answer. Remember, 5 minus 3 is 2, but 3 minus 5 is negative 2. So with subtraction, you have to be careful. Read it carefully. This means 10 less than the product of 7 and f. What that means is you're taking 10 away from the 7 times f. So you have to write it as 7f minus 10. Lots of times people just see the numbers and the letters and they just write them in the order that they're written. But that's not always true when you're translating it into an algebraic expression. Okay, so 2/3 of the volume V. Well, of means to multiply, and 2/3 is a fraction. So it's going to be 2/3 V, or you could equivalently write that as 2V over 3. Either one of those mean the same thing. All right, here's a couple for you to try. Go ahead and pause the video. All right, 2a, so the product of p and 6, you could write as 6p, or p times 6, like this. Typically, when you're multiplying a number and a variable, you put the number first. 1/3 of the area A. So of means to multiply, so it's 1/3 times A, or you could write it 1/3 A, or 1A over 3. And even A over 3 would still work. Because when you multiply by 1, it's still, 1 times A is the same as A. All right? Variables can represent quantities that are known and quantities that are unknown. They are also used in formulas, expressions, and equations. So here's a real-world example. Mr. Martinez orders 250 keychains printed with his athletic team's logo and 500 pencils printed with their web address. Write an algebraic expression that represents the cost of the order. Question: Do you know how much each keychain costs and each pencil costs? No, you don't. So variables can be used to represent the amount that each keychain costs, okay, and pencil. So let K be the cost of each keychain. We used K because that's what keychain starts with, and P represent the cost of each pencil. P stands for pencil, okay? Sometimes we pick variables because they make sense. Now notice I'm using different variables because the keychains might not cost the same amount for each keychain as each pencil. In fact, I'd be very surprised if they did. So the cost of the keychains would be 250 times K, because each keychain, let's say they cost 20 cents. Well, you'd have to multiply 250 times 20. And each pencil, let's say they cost 5 cents. Well, you'd have to do 500 times 5 cents. Well, we don't know how much they cost, so you have to do 250K for the cost of the keychains and 500 times P for the cost of the pencils. And then the total, you'd have to add those together. So 250K plus 500P represents the total cost of Mr. Martinez's order. All right, here's one for you to try. Go ahead and read it and pause the video and hit play when you're ready. All right, we're back. Katie bakes 40 pastries and makes coffee for 200 people. Write an algebraic expression to represent this situation. So 40P plus 200C would represent the total cost for Katie's pastries and coffee. So 40 times P, which represents the cost of the pastries, and 200C, C represents the cost of the coffee. Add them together and you get the total cost. All right, well, that's it for this section, guys. Please continue on to your assignment and reach out to me if you have any questions. Take care.